The first time the secret surfaced, the late afternoon sun was just dipping behind the oak-lined driveway of the home that belonged to the Robertson family. A faint glint through the tinted glass of a black SUV disturbed the calm. Inside, a figure sat in the back seat, breath visible in the cold November air, holding a folder whose cover bore the company name in elegant gold lettering, Robertson and Son Enterprises. The lawyer's office that had been the center of the family's world just days before now felt like a mausoleum of promises and hidden debts. The sound of paper sliding across a mahogany desk, the hush of pursed lips, the rustle of a turned page, everything they believed about their family, their legacy, was about to be exposed. In that instant, the day pivoted. Their father, Charles Robertson, who'd built the business from a one-room workshop in rural Wisconsin in 1974, had left instructions for his children to gather at the old headquarters in Milwaukee at exactly 3 p.m. The siblings, Emma, the meticulous accountant, David, the tech-savvy middle child, Lisa, the youngest and carefree, and Michael, the designated golden child, arrived in their suits with polite smiles and firm handshakes. They greeted their father in the vast boardroom, the smell of fresh leather chairs, the faint hum of the HVAC unit, the subtle whisper of expectation. No one spoke of the tension. No one yet knew that this would be the moment where the foundation of trust would crack, where loyalty would dissolve, and the legacy of family business would become a tomb. Michael entered last, carrying a sleek briefcase. His tie slightly loosened from the drive. He gave each sibling a nod, a quirk smile. He had always been the favorite, charismatic, confident, groomed to take over. The others watched him, a little envy, a little admiration. The father cleared his throat and asked them to sit. The mood was crisp, charged. Outside, the cicadas had quieted for the year, the November chill already in the air. Inside the boardroom, the subconscious chill was gathering. "Thank you all for coming," Charles said, voice steady but softer than usual. "I have one more favor to ask, the closing of my era, so you can begin yours." He glanced at Michael, who nodded subtly. The others looked puzzled. "And I know you will all uphold what we've built." He slid forward the folder. "This is the final audit. This is the handover. And I expect you to work together with integrity." Nothing in his voice betrayed fear, but no one yet realized that fear was exactly what would follow. As the folder opened, the documents spilled into view. Balance sheets, asset lists, trust funds, offshore accounts. Emma leaned forward, glasses perched on the tip of her nose. She flipped a page. "Dad, what is this account?" she asked quietly, pointing. The father glanced at his golden child, Michael, who in that moment looked more like a stranger. The father closed the folder. "That will be addressed," he said. "Tonight you all rest. Tomorrow we begin a full review." It was a sentence that seemed procedural, benign, but in hindsight, it was the calm before the storm. Later that evening, Michael stepped out onto the balcony of the family's mansion overlooking Lake Michigan, the city lights flickering in the distance. He took a deep breath of cold wind, looked at his reflection in the glass rail, and felt something shift in him. The expectation, the pressure, the secret he'd been holding, the promise to his father, the bargain with himself. In his mind, he rehearsed the next line he would deliver. "Everything is in order. We're prepared." But he also thought, "They don't know." And as the moon rose, a sense of inevitability floated through the air. In families like theirs, with money, with legacy, with power, secrets are never buried forever. Before we dive deeper into this labyrinth of family ties and hidden debts, I'd like to ask you something. Where are you watching from tonight? Drop your city or country in the comments. And as we unravel this story, tell us, was this all about greed, a bitter act of betrayal, or was it something far darker, something less understood? If you're drawn to stories where truth lies in the shadows, please tap the like button and subscribe. Your support helps us reveal the secrets that should never stay hidden. The sun rose the next morning over Milwaukee like any other day. The siblings arrived at Robertson and Son Enterprises in the cold pre-dawn light. The parking lot was empty, save for Michael's car he'd left earlier. Inside, they found the office in its usual state, desks aligned, computer screens logged off, coffee mugs stacked. But something felt off. Emma found an email in the board inbox, sent at 3:02 a.m., with the subject line, "Transfer complete." Her heart raced. She clicked it. It contained a single number, 1,900,000 pause. She shivered. Michael's tie. Her mind flashed back to last night, the balcony, and something her father had said, I expect you to work together. Was this what he meant? The Robertson family, rooted in a small Wisconsin town, seemed ordinary. Charles, now 72, had built the business with his own hands, assembling bespoke metal parts, hiring local workers, sponsoring youth sports, attending Sunday church services. Emma, 38, was the workhorse, quiet, organized, loyal. David, 41, always still tinkering in the IT department, mild-mannered. Lisa, 32, the dreamer, often away in Minneapolis, returning with laughter, stories, but rarely involved in business details. Michael, 36, handsome, charismatic, groomed to take over. He had always made everyone feel safe, impressive, trustworthy. They lived in a community where the name Robertson carried weight. Other business owners nodded when Charles introduced his children. Neighbors waved when they left for holiday. On the outside, their world was stable, conventional. Family dinners, birthdays celebrated in the backyard, Christmas trees trimmed near the lakefront view. No one in town would suspect that beneath this facade, loyalty could fracture so completely. Yet tensions had been dormant for years. Long after the Sunday potlucks ended, subtle remarks lingered. At one Christmas dinner, Lisa had quietly said to her father, Dad, what happens if one of us quits? She spoke of stepping away from the business, and he had smiled, said, then you'll always be family and you'll always get your share. Michael had interrupted. We're all in this together. The words felt warm then. Later, David recalled seeing Michael in the office late on a Friday, typing, deleting, switching files. Just doing his final checks, Michael had said. It seemed normal, but normal was the breeding ground for secrets. And so the day unfolded. Charles asked the siblings to gather at noon in the boardroom. The shift supervisor brought coffee. The employees overheard confused voices, a tension in the air. Charles opened the meeting with a toast to the future. Together we'll make this business soar. Michael raised his glass, sincere looking. Emma thought she heard unease in his eyes. David felt a chill, but nothing prepared them for what would come next. As the father laid out the transition plan, Michael assuming full operational control, the others stepping to advisory roles, the documents flicked across the table. And then Emma noticed a page she'd never seen. A trust fund set aside for Michael R. Robertson, sole beneficiary until further notice. Her breath caught. The father closed his eyes. He said simply, this is to ensure stability. But the others saw the words sole beneficiary and felt walls close in around their shared world. In the quiet that followed, Michael spoke. I trust you all. We will succeed together. His tone was smooth, but Lisa broke the peace. Michael, why am I not on this list? Why am I not part of this trust fund? A flicker of something, annoyance, fear crossed Michael's face. The father looked down. Because, Lisa, your life has taken you elsewhere. I trust these two to carry on the business. Emma felt a surge of betrayal. David, too. They looked at each other. Michael's smile widened, but his eyes hardened. The room seemed colder. The couches in the lobby felt hollow. The business they'd built as siblings now had a fault line. That afternoon, Emma stepped into the archive room in the basement. Dusty cardboard boxes, old memos, employee recognition plaques. She flipped the switch. The lights buzzed. She found an envelope marked Confidential, FY 1998, with Michael's initials on it. Heart pounding, she opened it. Inside, she found a letter to MRR. This bypasses the estate of CRR in full. Signature required. Below, in faint ink, was Charles's signature, dated over 20 years ago. That document revealed Michael had been earmarked by their father from the very beginning, bypassing his siblings entirely. Right there in the shadows, a legacy of exclusion. The moment of near discovery came when Lisa, in the lobby, overheard two employees whispering near the coffee machine. Did you see the midnight transfer? $1.9 million gone. She froze. The murmuring sounded like ghosts. She backed away. For a moment, she thought Michael would emerge behind the frosted glass door. He didn't. The silence swallowed her. The illusion of security shattered. And so the first act closed. The scene of betrayal was set. The golden child, the trust fund, the money moved under cover of darkness, and the remaining siblings left wondering when exactly the handshake, the smile, the we're all in this together turned into a sword behind their backs. The business, the legacy, the family, They all hung by a thread thin as coin in the ledger. The truth was now poised to be exposed. When the first audit report hit the accountant's inbox on a gray Tuesday morning, Emma didn't breathe for several seconds. The file was labeled Emergency Ledger Review, FY 2022. She opened it, expecting a routine reconciliation. Instead, she found an entry dated just 2 days prior, a wire transfer of $900,000 to an offshore account listed under MR Holdings, LLC. The recipient address traced back to a shell firm registered in Delaware. Michael's initials. Her hands trembled. She called her father. No answer. She called David. Straight to voicemail. Then Lisa, whose voice cracked over the phone. What's happening? People are whispering. The staff's saying the bank called. Emma stood, numb, staring at her reflection in the computer screen. The numbers blurred. Her father's legacy, their family's foundation, was vanishing digit by digit. By noon, Charles arrived at the office, pale and trembling. He'd already been contacted by the bank. The transfer authorization had come from his own login credentials, digitally signed. But I didn't, he muttered, trailing off. The IT log showed remote access at 2:47 a.m., originating from a private network registered to Michael's downtown condo. Emma didn't want to believe it. Maybe it's fraud. Maybe someone hacked him, she whispered. Her father shook his head slowly. Michael knows the codes. He's the only one who could. The meeting that followed wasn't just a confrontation, but it was a slow-motion implosion. The four siblings gathered in the boardroom, blinds drawn against the afternoon light. Their father sat at the head of the table, face ashen. Michael entered last, again, as if rehearsed. He set his phone down, calm, expression unreadable. Emma spoke first. Michael, did you authorize a transfer from the business account? He smiled faintly. It was an internal reallocation to secure new investment partners. Lisa's voice cut through. To your shell company? Michael's eyes narrowed. You don't understand how business works. I'm protecting the company from liquidation. David leaned forward. From what liquidation? We're solvent. Michael exhaled sharply. Not if Dad dies and the taxes come in. I'm making sure the legacy stays intact. Charles, trembling, said quietly, You went behind my back. The silence that followed felt endless. Rain began to strike the tall windows like static. Emma felt tears press at the corners of her eyes. You stole from us, she said, almost inaudible. From your own family. Michael didn't reply. He just gathered his phone and murmured, I did what had to be done. Then he left. Over the next week, the family's private nightmare bled into the public. Vendors called about unpaid invoices. Employees found their paychecks delayed. Local news outlets caught wind of financial irregularities at the once reputable Robertson and Son Enterprises. Headlines read, Legacy Firm Under Scrutiny After Alleged $1.9 million Transfer. The town buzzed, neighbors whispered. Church pews fell silent when the Robertsons entered. The patriarch's proud name became a rumor, a cautionary tale of greed and betrayal. Investigators from the state's Financial Crimes Division opened a case. They requested records, emails, and bank authorizations. Emma cooperated fully, handing over hard drives and audit trails. Michael, however, lawyered up quickly. His attorney issued a statement. Mr. Robertson acted in good faith to protect the company's financial integrity. But behind closed doors, everyone knew what it was. A betrayal dressed as business. The investigation uncovered a pattern stretching back years. Small, strategic withdrawals. Re-invoiced vendor payments. Private accounts under MR Holdings. Each meticulously hidden, each traceable to Michael. Reports suggested he'd been planning the takeover for more than 5 years, building a financial lifeboat for himself while his siblings managed daily operations. When confronted by investigators, Michael invoked his right to silence. The truth was cornered, but not yet exposed. Then came the critical moment, the near discovery that turned everything. One night, Emma received a call from a former employee, a quiet man named Harris who had worked at maintenance for nearly 20 years. Ma'am, he said, voice trembling, there's a drive, hidden in the server room, labeled Archives 97. I think you should see it. The next morning, she went in early, before anyone else arrived. Dust motes floated in the fluorescent light. She opened the back server panel, found the hidden drive wedged between cables, and inserted it into her laptop. What she found was staggering, a complete trail of internal memos, invoices, and draft emails revealing Michael's plan to dissolve Robertson and Son Enterprises and relaunch it under a new name, Robert Tech Industries. He'd already filed the incorporation paperwork. The date? 2 weeks before the theft. Attached was a business plan typed neatly. Phase 1, transfer assets. Phase 2, secure control. Phase 3, liquidate shares. Emma's breath caught. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't even a moment of weakness. It was a blueprint for betrayal. She printed everything and brought it to her father that afternoon. Charles read the documents in silence, his eyes clouding. "He was my pride," he whispered. "My legacy." He slumped in his chair. Within days, the stress took its toll. On December 3rd, 2022, Charles Robertson suffered a mild stroke and was hospitalized. The family's empire was crumbling, and the heart that built it was failing. At the hospital, Michael visited once. Witnesses recall him standing by his father's bedside, silent, unreadable. "Dad," he said softly, "I did it for us." The old man didn't respond. The machines beeped steadily, the monitors flickering pale blue across the sterile room. Michael placed a folder on the table beside the bed, his confession, or maybe his justification, and walked out. He never returned. Meanwhile, Emma took the evidence to investigators. The district attorney's office launched a formal fraud case. Warrants were filed. Michael's assets were frozen. The local paper printed a headline that stopped everyone at the diner that morning. "Golden child under investigation. 1.9 missing. The illusion shattered completely." The golden son was now the suspect. But the unraveling went deeper. Investigators discovered that the missing funds had already been moved through multiple shell accounts, then invested into high-risk crypto portfolios. By the time the government traced the flow, more than half had vanished. Michael's attorney claimed market loss, but forensic accountants said otherwise. The transactions were designed to obfuscate. This was deliberate. The betrayal was now fully exposed. In March 2023, prosecutors charged Michael Robertson with embezzlement, wire fraud, and falsification of corporate records. His siblings sat in the courtroom's second row during the preliminary hearing, eyes hollow, faces pale. Emma couldn't look at him. Lisa cried quietly. David clenched his fists. When the judge read the charges, Michael showed no emotion. He simply looked at the ceiling, expression blank, as if somewhere deep down he believed he had done nothing wrong. The trial dragged on for 8 months. The prosecution presented a timeline of deceit, spreadsheets, server logs, signatures. The defense argued Michael's actions were preventive, an effort to save the business from inheritance taxes. But emails recovered from his personal laptop told a different story. "They'll never see it coming. I deserve this. I built this place anyway." Those lines projected on the courtroom screen drew gasps from the gallery. The truth was unmistakable. In July 2024, the verdict came. Guilty on all counts. The sentence, 12 years in federal prison, plus restitution of $1.9 million. Emma closed her eyes as the gavel struck. Lisa sobbed into her hands. David stared straight ahead. Michael stood jaw tight as marshals approached. He turned once toward his siblings and said softly, "You'll thank me someday." No one replied. After the sentencing, Robertson and Son Enterprises filed for bankruptcy. The once proud factory floor fell silent, machines covered in dust. The family mansion on Lake Michigan was sold to pay legal fees. Their father, now wheelchair-bound, lived quietly in a small assisted facility near Green Bay, rarely speaking of the past. The town's Main Street Cafe replaced the family's old billboard with a new ad, "Integrity builds trust," a silent echo of what was lost. For the siblings, the aftermath was more than financial ruin. It was emotional obliteration. Emma moved to Minnesota working as a freelance accountant. David took a job in Chicago's tech district, avoiding conversations about family entirely. Lisa tried to rebuild her life, volunteering at community centers, telling people she was the youngest of 4, but never saying more. And Michael, the golden child, remained in a federal penitentiary in Illinois, where he reportedly teaches business ethics to fellow inmates. Irony carved into routine. Years later, Emma received a letter with no return address. Inside was a single photograph, the 4 siblings at a company picnic, smiling, arms around each other, before everything unraveled. On the back, written in neat handwriting, were 4 words: "I wanted to belong." No signature, just silence. She burned the letter that night, watching the ash scatter over the snow. Sometimes she wondered whether Michael ever truly believed he'd done wrong, or whether he simply mistook control for love. The story of the Robertson family lingers in local lore, the tale of how one golden child's ambition bankrupted a dynasty overnight. But beneath the financial scandal lies a deeper truth. In the pursuit of legacy, some people mistake ownership for identity and loyalty for leverage. In the end, the Robertson story isn't just about theft. It's about the invisible currency of trust. Once broken, never restored. Sometimes the darkest secrets aren't the ones buried in safes or hidden in offshore accounts. They're the ones we keep within the people we love most. And in this case, the truth was finally exposed. But the damage was already done. Do you think justice was truly served? Or are there still secrets buried beneath this family's or shattered legacy? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want us to keep on uncovering haunting true stories of betrayal, greed, and love turned deadly, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because the next dark secret we uncover might just be one that no one ever saw coming.